There are moments when a single image says more than 90 minutes of football ever could. While Brazil was searching for answers on the pitch, one of the most talked about players in the country was watching from the bench. And here's the strange part. The more Brazil struggled, the more one name kept taking over every conversation: Endrick. But here's the question dividing fans, journalists, and even football legends. How does a player constantly described as decisive keep being treated like a secondary option? Stay with me until the end, because the answer might be a lot more uncomfortable than people want to admit. And before we get into it, hit the like button if you think this is one of the biggest debates surrounding Brazil right now.
He didn't want to call up Endrick for the national team. We have proof of what happened, and we saw it.
So if he took him, he has to use him.
Why? Because Endrick couldn't be left out. Considering the matches he played, are you kidding me? He's not going to take the kid. We need a guy who's there, scores goals. And this guy has already shown that by being called up haphazardly because he didn't want to call him up. He didn't want to call him up because something must have happened at Real Madrid, and for him to have this grudge against Endrick. Something, and I'll remind you of something, Marcelo. There was a Real Madrid game when he was there, when Endrick tried to chip the ball. I remember that. Endrick tried to chip the ball. He really went after Endrick, talked about it in the press and everything. He has to be more serious. He has to take games more seriously. Do you remember that, Zico?
Yes.
Let's be honest for a second. There's a huge difference between being a prospect and being a reality. And for a lot of people, Endrick crossed that line a long time ago. When the pressure rises, when the game gets stuck, when the team needs energy, those are exactly the moments where many fans believe he can make a difference. The problem? As expectations around him continue to grow, the opportunities seem to arrive much more slowly. And that's where a quiet pressure started building. Not just from supporters, but from people who understand the Brazilian national team better than almost anyone. And that's where everything begins to change.
Important in this World Cup, but that he will be important in the next World Cup. And then he ended up calling up Endrick for the 2030 World Cup. Why? Because the coach is Ancelotti. It's not like the Portuguese national team, for example, where Roberto Martinez has already announced that he won't stay regardless of the result. Whether Portugal wins the World Cup or the Brazilian national team is eliminated in the first round, Roberto Martins leaves anyway. No, Ancelotti has a renewed contract, so the coach for the next World Cup is Ancelotti. When he says that Endrick will be important in the next World Cup, he's calling up Endrick for the 2030 World Cup, which is great, because Endrick is, in fact, a player with absurd potential, a player who has everything to be the future of the Brazilian national team, but why isn't he the present? Then he continued his answer saying, no, Endrick is patient. He knows he's waiting for time. Endrick's family is patient too. And he ended the answer. So for me, it's a somewhat worrying answer.
Then came the statement that completely changed the conversation. It didn't come from a social media account. It didn't come from a fan page. It didn't even come from just another former player. It came from Zico. And the message was direct. I don't see anyone in that squad with Endrick's characteristics and personality when it comes to overcoming difficult situations. Suddenly, this wasn't just an internet debate anymore. It became a national discussion. Because Zico wasn't simply talking about talent. He was talking about mentality, character. The kind of player who doesn't disappear when things get difficult. The kind of player who stays alert when everyone else starts forcing things. And when one of the greatest figures in Brazilian football says that publicly, the question becomes impossible to ignore. What are Endrick's critics seeing that Zico isn't? Or maybe the real question is the opposite. If you agree with Zico, drop Endrick starter in the comments. I genuinely want to see how many people are on that side of this debate. Because from that moment on, this stopped being a conversation about potential. It became a conversation about opportunity.
A mim, o Endrick tinha que ser dos que estão aí no momento. Ele tem retrospecto bom em seleção, ele é um jogador que corre atrás da dificuldade, ele supera isso dentro do campo, e é um jogador decisivo, é um jogador que, sabe, tá sempre atento no erro do adversário, tá sempre atento no que ele tem que fazer ali, então Eu não vejo nenhum jogador ali com a característica e com personalidade igual a um Endrick para correr atrás de uma dificuldade.
Here's what most people are missing. Zico's comments weren't really about minutes on the pitch. They were about trust. Because throughout football history, some players receive opportunities before they're fully ready. Others seem forced to prove themselves over and over again. Even before the World Cup, Endrick had already produced important performances and attracted praise from major voices outside Brazil. Yet the narrative surrounding him remained exactly the same. Be patient. Not yet. His time will come. And maybe that's the part frustrating so many people. Not because they doubt his ability, but because they feel he keeps being asked to convince people who should already be convinced. This is bigger than football. It's about perception, it's about timing, and it's about how quickly football decides who is ready and who isn't.
An opponent to give you confidence, right? For Vinicius, for Paquetá, for Matheus Cunha. Well, I think these players come out much stronger after this game, and Vinicius Junior's confidence is above all else adapta. Brazil's second half was probably all about managing the game. Almost nobody invented much. Endrick, for example, played 26 minutes and touched the ball 8 times. Brazil had a shot with Vini in the very end of the first half, and then shot again, I think, at 73 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I think Brazil went almost 30 minutes without a shot from 45 to 73. That's it. That's right, almost 30 minutes without a shot. Yes, they shot at 45 minutes plus 3, then they shot at 76, went 30 minutes without a shot. And shot again at 46, at 91. But 16 minutes without a shot, then there's Ederson shot. There were some shots and offsides that obviously don't count, right, folks? So Brazil's second half was just about managing the game. So it is difficult to say much regarding my thoughts on Endrick or Ryan, who entered right at the end of the first half and also contributed very little. Nor can I say anything about what I thought of Martinelli or Ederson, because the second half of the game was practically non-existent. It was good for Alisson to make a good save on a corner kick. I also think it's good for Alisson to gain confidence. I think it's much more external than internal. Vinicius Junior's confidence is different. Alisson feels there's an external distrust from the public, the fans and the press towards him. And I think when he makes good saves like he did on...
After Zico spoke, the reaction was immediate. Social media exploded. Sports shows picked up the debate. Former players started weighing in, and thousands of supporters found themselves asking the exact same question. Why? Why does one of the most exciting young players in world football still have to fight for every inch of recognition? Comments flooded every platform. He's our real number 9. Let him play. He's ready. And once other respected figures from Brazilian football started publicly supporting the idea of giving Endrick a bigger role, the pressure only grew stronger. Because now, this wasn't just about one player. It was becoming a narrative, a story bigger than a lineup decision, a story about belief, and whether football is moving too slowly to embrace what might already be standing right in front of it.
What did the man say in the last briefing? He's wonderful, he's spectacular, Luizão. And then PBC asked, why aren't you going to put him in? No, the time hasn't come yet. How do you explain that, Luizão?
No, it's impossible to explain. All of Brazil was asking for him. Every analyst, every commentator, all the Brazilian people are asking for Endrick, and he's showing it. He showed personality in his departure from Real Madrid to head over to France, which is a league that possesses an incredible level of competitiveness. And he showed personality. And that's why not put him in. That's the question that remains.
For this level of player we're talking about, in Endrick's case specifically, there's no right time. Ancelotti was wrong in his statement. How are you going to give it? Look, the right time I put him in is for the player who's in the form he's in. There's no right time. The time is now.
Every moment is the right time. Let's go. And another thing, Endrick plays the same role as Matheus Cunha. Endrick can also drop back into midfield to help out there. He's done that several times and provided assists on many occasions as a
player. I'll go even further. Of all the Brazilian forwards, Endrick is the most complete because he can play on the right, on the left, centrally, and even further back. Because at Palmeiras, how many times did he play further back? That is, he's a dynamic player. He plays in all 4 positions with ease. The others don't have that same mobility to be able to play in other positions.
And maybe that's the most fascinating part of this entire story. Almost nobody is questioning Endrick's talent anymore. The debate has moved somewhere else. How long does a player have to keep proving he's ready? Every generation has that one footballer who seems to arrive before the world is prepared for him. And every generation has people who take too long to notice. So here's the question. Is Endrick still waiting for his opportunity? Or is the opportunity taking too long to catch up with Endrick? Drop your opinion in the comments. Do you think Brazil is using Endrick the right way? Or are they wasting a player who's already ready for the biggest moments? And if you enjoy football stories that go beyond the final score and uncover the emotions behind the decisions, leave a like. Because the next chapter of this story might completely change the way people talk about Endrick.